in the book of Acts, as Ananias and Sapphira sold their money to give to the church, but they kept back a portion of it. Peter confronts them, and he doesn't say, hey, you had to give all your money, or the government was supposed to come in and take your money. He says, it was yours when you sold it. It was yours before you sold it. You have property rights to it. It was in your control. The issue was that he was lying about how generous he was being, but even the last thing that Ananias heard before he died, Peter was affirming property rights in his dying breath. So it's ironic that that's the last thing he heard before he went. Well, again, I think you have to start with defining your terms. So capitalism is built on those three major things, which is property, incentive, and liberty. And those are all through the Scriptures. I mentioned a few already. Proverbs 31 actually lays out business is good, and here's how to be a business owner. And it lays out that Proverbs 31 woman, how she produces, how she profits. It says that profits are good. It was the incentive. Twice in that passage it says that to give her the fruit of her labor. In other words, she worked for it. It's hers. Property rights. Incentive, her profits were her incentive to work hard. Paul shows up in 2 Thessalonians and says the same thing. He says, we came to you and we didn't eat somebody else's bread. In other words, somebody else worked and owned. That was their incentive for their bread. We instead worked day and night because we didn't want to be a burden to somebody else. We wanted to be self-sufficient. And I think these ideas of self-sufficiency, Paul affirms those again in Galatians when he says, each person needs to carry their own load, but we need to help each other and live lavishly generous lives. But that's part of bearing each other's burdens, not carrying each other's loads. If I put on my psychology hat for a moment, I think we have a very codependent and enabling society. In the name of helping everybody, we end up crippling other people from learning that there's a reap-sow principle that God has woven into the fabric of time. If every time somebody goes to bash their head in the wall, you take a pillow and put between them and the wall, they learn that banging their head into the wall doesn't hurt. And by the way, you've got a new job because every time they're going to bang their head into the wall, you've got to stick it there. But Galatians 6:8, all through the Proverbs, the sluggard and the ant, it says, go to the ant. And if you enable the sluggard to keep being a sluggard and not feeling the pain of it, or 2 Thessalonians says, if you do not work, you do not eat, if you don't teach that, then basically you become the provider, the comfort, and the guide for everybody else, rather than pointing them toward God.